Mm. Nancy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and I am unmuted now.
Okay.
And I'm just putting our slideshow into present mode, and we will be all set.
Awesome. I want to welcome everyone today for coming. This is our debut. We are launching today for our very first lunch and lead conversations. And we originally thought about opening this up to just to Wisconsin, but we thought, why keep it all to ourselves? We want to share the good stuff. So my name is Donna Heitmanek, and I am the president of the Literacy Task Force. And I'm here today with Nancy Dressel, who is our president-elect. I put my contact information in the chat. And why we are here is that we would like to build a community of leaders interested in improving outcomes for kids through a threefold approach. The science of reading, systems, which is assessments, data collecting and interventions, and structures, schedules, routines, leadership teams, professional development. So that's what we're going to be talking about in the next 6 months, or probably indefinitely, because as we are going on this journey, we are running into many more people that have the expertise that that both Nancy and I don't have. Nancy has more than I, but that we can tap into other people who have really done the job and done the work across the nation. So let's get going, Nancy.
So today, Donna and I have an outline for you for the first 30 minutes of our inaugural Lunch and Lead, the introduction to the Literacy Task Force of Wisconsin. Then we're going to highlight some amazing resources from our exhibit at the 2022 State Education Convention. Then we're going to share with you some information about the upcoming Lunch and Lead sessions we have scheduled this spring. Donna has done an amazing job reaching out in her network and scheduling some phenomenal leaders, both in Wisconsin and across the nation, that I'm excited to learn from in these Lunch and Leads. Then we'll be sharing some ways that we can keep this conversation going, both during these Lunch and Leads and then between sessions, and some resources to extend your literacy leadership learning. So as Donna said, my name is Nancy Dressel. I'm the president-elect of the Literacy Task Force of Wisconsin. Just a little bit about myself. I'm worked in K-12 schools in Wisconsin for 20 years, many roles: library media specialist, technology integration coach, instructional coach, curriculum specialist. They were all in what I would call middle level leadership, where I was supporting principals and supporting teachers and supporting systems and structures. And I also have a strong advocacy passion. And so I served on a school board, and I'm on the Literacy Task Force board, and now on the board of another nonprofit. Donna, I don't know if this group knows you really well. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, I forgot to do that. So my name's Donna Heitmanek. I'm a retired reading specialist, special education teacher, and have had experience with the nonprofit since this particular nonprofit since 2007 when we started. And we are shifting our mission vision right now to more statewide information dissemination of the science of reading and evidence-based approaches, as well as I said earlier, structures and systems. So I started this journey in several things that I've done with Wisconsin Read to Lead Task Force. Nancy and I both served on the dyslexia informational committee, legislative committee in 2018. That's how we actually met. And so from there, out of frustration, I started a Facebook page called The Science of Reading, What I Should Have Learned in College. And lo and behold, 2.5 years later, we now have 134,000 members, and it is international and growing. We also have a Wisconsin Science of Reading Literacy Task Force Facebook page, and that one has 1,400 members. And so we're just trying to get the message out on evidence-based practices and how you can help your district improve your outcomes for students.
Yep. And Donna and I are so excited that we got ahead of ourselves on slide 1. So I just want to highlight that we have a website for the Literacy Task Force of Wisconsin, and the URL is wisconsin-reads.org. And so you're going to see little notes at the bottom of each slide today that highlight where on our website you can find the resources that we're sharing, because we're really trying to build not only online communities to support your learning, but also a virtual resource that you can all access anytime. Donna, I think you kind of summed up our mission and vision, but at the same rate, it's worth reiterating. Do you want to share the mission and goals of the Learning Task Force?
Sure. Initially, the mission was to create training for lay people to become tutors. And as the years have gone on, we wanted to expand our mission. And so we've expanded it to being advocates for equity through literacy, because reading is an equitable issue, by increasing awareness and understanding of the science of reading. And we do that by increasing awareness of the impact of literacy. And we provide training by the science of reading. We've had probably, what did we have? Over 30 webinars last year that are available for free or low cost. And when I say low cost, I mean like $5. So it's low. Connect teachers, leaders, parents, and interested individuals with resources. We serve our community very well doing that. And we raise funds for this literacy training through partial scholarships and resources. So any of the money that was brought in through our trainings for the $5 nominal fee, $10, we turn back into opportunities for teachers to get training. So it's a win-win for everyone.
So Donna's being really humble about her leadership and the accomplishments of the Literacy Task Force of Wisconsin this last year, because there were well over 30 separate courses or learning opportunities, webinars that were offered, but some of them were multiple series, learning opportunities. And so I didn't even count up how many individual evenings Donna has sat on webinars and hosted learning for people internationally through her work on Facebook and with the Literacy Task Force of Wisconsin. Another huge accomplishment this year was our state education convention. And sorry, I'm going to back up, because one thing I did, now I'm going the wrong direction. So one thing I do want to highlight is on our homepage, and it's our SOR professional learning calendar. And so there's lots of information shared in social media networks, but that doesn't always get on our radar in a way that we know if we're available or not. So on the homepage of Wisconsin Reads, the first thing you will see is our SOR professional learning calendar. And we not only have the stuff that the Literacy Task Force of Wisconsin is offering, but anything we find online that's free webinars, we add on this calendar. And so it's a really great way, if you have a free Saturday or Sunday or evening, to see if there's any webinars of interest available and be able to register for them for free. So that's one resource for literacy leaders that we wanted to highlight on our site. We also wanted to highlight, there's 2 different Facebook groups that would be so valuable for you as literacy leaders. One of them is the one that Donna mentioned earlier that she started with the Science of Reading, What I Should Have Learned in College. And as she mentioned, there's 134,000 members right now from around the world. The other one is there's one called Science of Reading for Administrators, What Teachers Want You to Know. And that one actually has 3,000 members right now and is, a great resource that we want to encourage you to join and grow. Some of our speakers for the spring series are in that group, and they just share a plethora of information all the time that's valuable and available for you there whenever you're available. Then our other biggest celebration was the State Education Convention. And so, Donna, do you want to highlight just the questions that we organized our booth around?
Sure. So we thought it was really important to have more or less a reason to come to our booth. And so these were our questions. Who we are, sorry, and how can LTFW support my school district? What is the science of reading? I know you've all heard about that, but we actually expanded on that. How are the key works of school boards connected to literacy, equity, and dyslexia? Do my district's reading instructional materials support the reading achievement of all learners? We delved into that a little bit. Do my district's reading assessments ensure compliance with IDA child find requirements? What are the costs of balanced literacy and return on investment of structured literacy? And how can ESTHER funding help my district improve reading achievement for all learners? And finally, how can Wisconsin resources such as Wisconsin's informational guidebook on dyslexia and related conditions support the school board members, administrators, and educators? So these are all recent. The guidebook is a recent document that's been published. All school districts must have it on their website, so I hope yours does. And it's a document that was collaborated with IDA and WSRA on how to address students with dyslexia.
So we aren't going to be able to highlight all of the information that's available from our 2022 Education Convention booth here today in this webinar. But I just want to highlight that it is all available online. And so on our Wisconsin Reads website, if you go to conferences and conventions, first of all, there's a page called 10 Ways to Learn about how to improve literacy at the State Education Convention. And so there was some really great opportunities to learn about the Literacy Task Force. One of the presenters, Dr. Kimiona Burke, another one, a keynote, Brandon Fleming, were all fabulous literacy speakers. Then we encouraged people to attend their sessions during the convention, and then afterwards highlighted, of course, registering for this webinar today. But bonus for you guys on this session today, Stoughton School District did an amazing presentation about how they adopted curriculum resources during the pandemic that are evidence-based and science-aligned. And they shared how they had such a positive experience with their teachers and their parents, because it was actually a support to them in having to teach online and make all the connections with their kids. So there is a link here to their resource on the website that you can actually download their handout. And this wasn't here before, so you guys are the first ones to know about it. The other thing that I need to highlight is we have, if you go to 2022 Education Convention, everything that was in our physical booth is on this webpage. So all of the answers to those 6 questions and the resources, the links to the external resources to answer them, are all on this webpage. It's a long webpage, and you can spend a lot of time here, I think, digging in deeply. But I just wanted to point out that this is here for you, and we aren't going to be able to address it all today. So some fun stuff that we do get to address today is that we had so much fun at the convention. We got to visit with so many people. We got to hand out copies of books that are aligned to the science of reading. And we got to take pictures. Brandon Fleming, the keynote speaker, was amazing. I got to have my picture with him with his book. And we had a wonderful time visiting with people. I think for me, one of the highlights was hearing Brandon Fleming and getting to give him a copy of our book that we were giving away, Decoding or Conquering Dyslexia. Donna, what was one highlight of yours from exhibiting at the convention?
Just meeting all the administrators from all over the state. I actually met Carl Jenkins from Madison, which was a big deal for me. So, you know, I want those that are involved in leadership positions to be aware of what we do and how we can help you.
Oh, we can help. Yeah, it was amazing. Donna and I haven't even actually been able to dig through all our contacts that we got at the convention yet to even understand fully how many people we got to meet. So it was amazing. And just so you know, if you are a social media person, the hashtag for the conference was 2022 EdCon. The Twitter handle for one of the sponsors is WASBWI, and our Twitter handle is Wisconsin Reads. And so if you guys use social media at conventions, you know that you can kind of be at the convention without being at the convention. And so you can search these hashtags and Twitter names, and you'll find resources from this convention, including literacy task force stuff. So now we're to the fun part, Donna. We get to celebrate that we got to give away copies of these 4 different books to people all over the state of Wisconsin. So we were able to give away over 100 copies of these, 100 copies total of 4 different books: Conquering Dyslexia, Failing Students or Failing Schools, Shifting the Balance, and then Uncovering the Logic of English. To Donna and I, these were the best entry points into learning about how to improve literacy for all students. And we were so blessed that publishers and individuals making donations on our PayPal allowed us to purchase copies or have fully donated copies to give away. It was over $2,200 worth of books we were able to give away. And so not only can you access the resource, buy it yourself. However, we also have links to support resources on our website. So go check those out, because there's links to book studies and their websites and additional information that if you buy one of these books, the website, our convention digital exhibit, can help you dig deeper into them.
I want to make note, let's go back to the Shifting the Balance.
Yeah.
What I really like about this book is it's written by 2 authors that were using whole language approach or balanced literacy approach, and they kept coming back to, this isn't making sense. What's all the science telling me? What is all the research telling me? And so these are 2 gals that have shifted their thinking from using a balanced literacy approach, and they have 6 different tenets that they are presenting to you. So what's really cool about this book is not only that there's no blame, no shame in the writing, is that there's a study guide. So if you're interested in starting something like that in your school district, that would be a great book to get started with. And the study guide is free. It's online. The 6 shifts, I would highly recommend looking into that. So
plus they have a podcast, and they have a leadership toolkit, and they have a virtual class. I think they offer everything to support your learning with it. And you know what, Donna, I'm really glad you backed up, because Donna and I got really great at giving our elevator speech about why these books are awesome when we were at the convention, and that's probably worth highlighting. So Donna shared why she loves Shifting the Balance. For me personally, my favorite one is Conquering Dyslexia, and it's because I'm severely dyslexic myself. So my reading comprehension is average. My oral language comprehension is above average. However, my reading fluency is in the 4th percentile. So 96% of adults can read more accurately and faster than I can. And my phonological processing is in the 1st percentile. So 99% of adults can manipulate sounds as they're reading and writing and speaking more accurately and automatically than I can. And so Conquering Dyslexia just does an amazing job of explaining what dyslexia is, but also how structured literacy actually benefits all students. It's the most effective evidence-based way to teach any human brain to read, but it's a required support for dyslexic individuals. The other thing I love about that book is it gives you a full picture. So every single chapter has a perspectives page, and it shares the perspective of a parent and a bilingual parent and an adult and a medical professional and a library media specialist and a tutor and a speech pathologist. And so it really shares how you can kind of break down some of the barriers in schools. Donna, do you want to add anything about failing schools or failing students?
I would love to, but we got to move on.
Yeah, we are. I was thinking the same thing. Donna and I would just say, come and check out the links because you'll find way more information about them. So the one question that we did want to dig into from our booth during our webinar was the question about ESTHER funding and how ESTHER funding can help your district improve reading achievement for all learners. Understanding some of the other questions in our booth would definitely inform some of the recommendations that we're going to share with you at the moment, but it's all available to you in the digital exhibit. So some key points on the ESTHER funding that is really important for us to highlight for you is that motion 57, which it hasn't, motion 57 has been passed. The federal government or the state's ESSA plan has gone on to the federal government. There's one spot that they're still working out, and that's connected to the bunch of funding that applies to item 8A and 8B. So the funding's held up right now at the moment, but the concern has nothing to do with these two items. So although they can't guarantee that it's going to go through as is, it's anticipated that it will be approved as written and be put into place as written because the federal government doesn't have any objections to item 8A and 8B. So the important part to know about that is that item 8A allocates up to $2,000 to CSAs and $4,000 to each school district for training, direct training to teachers that is either accredited by SERI or accredited by the IDA. So we've got links to both websites with the accredited programs that you could start looking at to inform your decision. It also mentions letters specifically, but that is only one of the options that is available to school districts. Item 8B also allocates money for literacy leadership training to CSAs. And so CSAs will have up to $25,000 altogether, $18,000 for literacy training for leaders. One of the options that is listed in motion 57 is the Literacy Institute or Leadership and Literacy Institute from Schools Cube, but it also spells out specific qualifications. And there are several other vendors that qualify, including 95% Group, Keys to Literacy, and AIM, and Letters. So there are actually lots of options that are available to CSAs. And so it's worth it to start digging into them to be able to make recommendations to your CSA of what would be best for your region. The other thing is to be aware that evidence or assessments for K2, that there's funding available, always has been through legislation 118-106 or 016, the assessments for reading readiness. And so there's already money allocated for that in the state budget, and it wasn't fully claimed last year. So check with your district to see if they are actually requesting as much of a refund as they can for K2 assessments. And if not, start claiming that money for your district. And it's important to know that that funding can be used for skill-based assessments. And there's a really important reason to make sure that you have those available K2. Then last but not least, the DPI has lots of information available on their site that ESSER money can be used for curriculum materials and for professional learning that goes along with it. So there's a lot of opportunities to look at your system and figure out what the next steps are, and then use some of this money to improve. And we were so fortunate that all of the, I'm going to go ahead of here a little bit, Donna, all of the professional learning that we offered in raffles at the exhibit were examples of items that qualified in motion 57 for leadership training or for teacher training. And so there's several districts in the state of Wisconsin right now that are going to get a chance not only to learn, but to evaluate some of their options with this funding to see if that's the best match for their district or not. And so I'm really excited. Are you ready, Donna?
Sure.
to share these professional learning opportunities. It's a great opportunity for you as a viewer to see what's available, and also to see all the Wisconsin districts that are have this opportunity now. So our first one was 95% Group. They offered a print study guide bundle of 10 success factors. And so the Madison Metropolitan School District received 10 copies of 10 success factors and the print study guide and facilitators guide that was over a $350 value. AIM Institute was so generous in their donations. So Muskego, Norway is going to get to do the virtual learning first steps module, an overview of the science of reading. And Rural Virtual Academy gets to do their Pathways to Literacy Leadership course this spring between March 23rd and June 29th. Keys to Literacy was so generous in their donations. So March 17th, they have Understanding Dyslexia virtual training that Hudson schools and Princeton and Stoughton are going to get to benefit from. They also have adolescent reading virtually on May 12th that Hudson, River Falls, and Stoughton are going to get to participate in. Then Keys to Literacy has a half-day long school district and literacy planning course that's intended for a team of people to be able to review your district's literacy plan and come up with next steps. And so there is a team of 3 teachers from 2 school districts. I can't remember who the Tiger Cougar is right now. It's not Princeton though, but I will look it up and correct it online. And then Nakusa, they get to send teams of 3 teachers to this virtual training to look at their literacy plan. Also, there's a teacher from, no, I didn't add their, from River Valley. I missed putting their logo on here. That gets to do the Keys to Beginning reading training for a teacher. Then Letters was unbelievably generous and offered 10 seats in one school district to Letters Volume 1. And so 10 teachers from the Oshkosh Area School District are going to be able to begin their journey in the science of reading with Letters Volume 1, the participant bundle. And then last but not least, the Reading League of Wisconsin is hosting a conference next October in Brookfield. Their registrations will be starting soon, but they donated 2 tickets to attend the convention, $150 each. And Colby School District is going to get to send 2 employees to that convention next October. And you can see they've got a great lineup with Wiley Bevlins and David Kilpatrick and Steve Dykstra and Angie. I can't wait till registration opens so I can buy my ticket. So amazing that through our exhibit booth, we were able to share this opportunity with school districts to start evaluating these options for professional learning in their school districts that they can spend ESSA funds on as they look at how to improve things in their next steps in their districts. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we launched with this is Lunch and Lead. That's why you're here today, because we wanted to be able to continue the conversation from the convention. So Donna, do you just want to share a little bit more about this Lunch and Lead and where we'll be going next with it?
Sure. So you need to register for each event. Our next event is in February 25th, I believe. Oh, there, thank you. And yep. Brent Conway is a assistant superintendent in the Pentucket School District. He is known nationwide for his changes that he's implemented in his school district. So he's a great speaker. And if you want a little sneak preview of that, you can find this information on our website and listen to his podcast that he has done. I think he has 2 of them right there.
Yep. That's what we're highlighting right here. So for February 25th, please listen to his podcast. That's linked right on our website. It's fantastic. It's only a half an hour, and I still have pages and notes that I go back to because it stirred a lot of thinking. And please email us your questions. So if you listen to that podcast and you have some questions that you'd really like to ask Brent, email them to us, because we plan on facilitating this like a conversation, that we'll ask him some questions and he'll be able to respond in the first 30 minutes. And then we'll open it up the last 15 to questions that came up based on listening to that conversation. So please prepare for Brent on February 25th, listen to his podcast, and send us your questions. Then we also had some other options to keep the conversation going. So we already mentioned the 2 Facebook groups. We also have a presence that we're trying to build on LinkedIn, and I'm just learning LinkedIn myself. But what I realized is that Facebook for leaders is, I know as a school board member, I went onto Facebook with a different perspective and lens than I did as a parent per se, or as an educator. And so I wasn't necessarily able to approach it from a learning lens. Whereas LinkedIn for leaders is a different learning community potentially. And so we wanted literacy leaders to have the same opportunity to enjoy a virtual learning community as a lot of teachers have benefited from on Facebook. And so we definitely have options on Facebook that would be a great learning community for literacy leaders in Wisconsin. So please check those out if you're comfortable. But if that's not really your spot, then try us out on LinkedIn and see if that's a better learning community for you. I don't know how long we'll keep those groups up, because we're just kind of putting them out to see how many people join and if there's option for a community. We do have 2 separate ones right now, one for school board members and one for district administrators. We've got very clear group rules that you need to be either elected in a Wisconsin school board or employed in a Wisconsin school district. So we're going to keep that community tight, that it's for people currently working in Wisconsin. These are the LinkedIn groups. And we're just going to see how it goes and see if that's a benefit to people or not, and go from there.
Okay.
Then sorry, go ahead, Donna.
No.
Okay. Then the last thing that I just want to highlight is at the very bottom of our digital exhibit page. So you got to scroll a little while to find it. Are some opportunities to extend your learning. And so there are some really great podcasts out there, some of them that are aimed directly at literacy leaders. One of my favorites is the Ed Leaders podcast from Glean Education. We already mentioned 6 Shifts, but there's other, Amplify's Science of Reading podcast is life-changing, just digging into it. So please check those out. And then there's also a rotating, you can't see it right now, but a rotating display of books that Donna and I both have been influenced by over the years. And we had them on display in our exhibits, and the visuals are there for you to be able to see some of the books that we would recommend. So there's just so much information all packed into one page on our digital exhibit page, all the way from information about the Literacy Task Force of Wisconsin to curriculum, instruction, you name it, it's there. And then all of our donors, there's actually information about them to help you check them out, even including their flyers about how they qualify for ESTHER. And then at the very bottom is our Extend Your Learning with the books that have benefited us and the podcast. So we put together that resource as a service to literacy leaders in Wisconsin, and we hope it can be helpful to you. So I think we're ready to see if there's any questions.
Any comments or questions? Okay, folks, we are so glad you came. We hope that you can share this information far and wide to other leaders that you work with, and share our information here, because I think the more people that know that we exist, the better off things will be. We can all help improve Wisconsin and their reading scores and its reading scores. Okay, we have one.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
we gotta. Thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us for a little lunch. I didn't actually see anyone eating. So just so you know, you are actually welcome to eat during this. And we will be putting it out online and sharing it. So, because we know that a lot of things come up in schools that even if you plan to attend, it might not work out. So please share the video so others can benefit from it too. And thank you so much for giving us some time today.
All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.